Good morning, everybody. It's me, San Martin of the Prescott Times, and we are here with Eric Knight and Sarah Clausen. Good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing today?
Really good. Thank you. How are you?
Awesome. I am doing the best that I could possibly do because guess what? I woke up. So I'm going to go ahead and make the best of today. That's for sure. But before we get into any of what we're talking about today, Eric, tell everybody what day it is.
All right, so it is National Sloppy Joe Day,
Oh man, you know
right?
what? I haven't had a sloppy Joe in a very, very long time. Sarah, you can go ahead and chime in on this. Have you had a sloppy Joe in the past year?
Oh no, I haven't. I used to love them though, so it sounds to me like a good day for celebration. Absolutely.
I don't even know where you'd get one. You'd have to make it yourself. I don't think there's like any local place that would serve you a sloppy Joe.
I think they actually changed it up to what is it? What do you call it? A brisket? Is it brisket? Or wait, not the. It's the actual little bun with the barbecue chicken on it, or not chicken, meat on it. I forgot what they call those. Yeah, brisket. No, I don't know what it is, but anyways, it doesn't matter. Eric, when was the last time you actually ate a sloppy Joe?
I was trying to think about it. It may have been like last year. I think we had an experiment, but yeah, they're rare to find.
He said I had an experiment.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. We should actually talk about this experiment that you have. Ultimately, this is something that actually has a lot of potential if we want to recreate it. Because I've always want to recreate old meals that I've had in the past, and one of the best ones that I want to recreate is the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I don't know why, but I feel like we could do a lot of cool things with the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's just my thing. But anyways, enough with the actual fun talk. We have a lot of serious talk to do, and this is the reason why our guest Sarah Clausen is here. We are getting into fire season, everybody, and this is a very big deal for our community. And the reason why is because we are sitting in amongst the biggest ponderosa forest in all of the nation, if I'm not mistaken. And some of the things that we are finding is that there is some things that are going on in our forest. And one of the recent press releases that came out was about the bark beetles. So, Sarah, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about what there is to know currently, is what is happening in our forest, and exactly what we can do to go ahead and help out all the things that we need to do for our forest and our actual property. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and you just go ahead and tell everybody what it's all about.
Well, thank you for having me on. So my name is Sarah Clausen. I'm the district ranger for the Bradshaw and Chino Valley Ranger districts of the Prescott National Forest. And gosh, yeah, we have a lot of things going on this year as it relates to forest health and the fire season that's upcoming. We have, certainly, as everybody knows, we have a drought. It's definitely there's no sign that that drought is going to be relieved before we get into fire season. And by April and into May, we're expecting that we're going to be an above normal average fire season here in the northern Arizona area. It's already started down in the southeast corner of the state. And so with the lack of precipitation we've seen, the fuels, as we call them, are certainly going to be much more receptive to fire. And, you know, the drought has also really provided an environment for the bark beetle infestation that we're starting to see in our forested areas around the Prescott area. So there's just a lot to talk about, and I'm happy to answer any questions you all might have. I mean, the first thing that we always make sure people know is how to be fire wise. And so that can mean understanding the One Less Spark campaign. So in other words, making sure that you are, if you're driving on highways, you are not dragging any chains. If you're using machinery that may put off sparks, that you're really cautious of what's going on around you. We don't have any fire restrictions in place right now, but really just being thoughtful and smart as you're near those really receptive fuels is critical.
Wow, this is an insane. I actually showed a picture. Let me go ahead and bring that back up real quick. We have some questions already on our chat box. We'll go ahead and share that with you. This is a picture of the forest, and this is the cause of bark beetles. And we actually ended up putting up another beetle of the map, beetle map of the west coast of America, USA. And as you can see, the bark beetle is definitely causing a little bit of problems. And I guess it's actually caused, if I'm not mistaken, by drought. It's a little dry out there.
Right.
So can you go ahead and explain what an actual consumer, I'm sorry, a resident of Prescott that has these problems going on their property? I know that you guys have a link. Explain to the people that have property with a bunch of trees that are starting to look like they're getting infested.
Sure. So there are a lot of resources and information out there about what you can do if you're concerned about a potential bark beetle infestation on your property. Certainly, you want to look for the telltale signs. Oftentimes, you'll see sort of a pith tube come out of the tree, and having beetles. So first of all, just to understand, bark beetle is around and it's present, but it's the drought conditions that really make our trees vulnerable. So what you want to do is make sure those trees are not competing for that precious water resource. So oftentimes thinning the trees on your property is a great way to make your trees more resilient to drought and therefore more resilient to potential beetle infestation. If you are in drought and you're starting to see your trees look like they've got signs of bark beetle, where you see those pith tubes come out and they're more of a red color versus white, you've already got a beetle infestation. You really want to mitigate that potential before you start seeing those red pith tubes come out, or sorry, pitch tubes. So really, if you've got concerns, you can always water your trees that you're really in a special precious tree that you really want to protect it. You can do some watering, but really we recommend contacting your local Yavapai County Extension office. They can certainly help you out and provide some resources about what you might do on your property.
All right, and then this is a pretty big deal. There is actually information. We ended up putting out a press release that you guys sent us. Thank you very much for that. We put it out, and we have a lot of information in there. Some of the comments are coming in. Haley wants to know: does this mean that we will have a bad fire season?
We are certainly anticipating a tough fire season. It's not because of the bark beetle. The bark beetle is just another symptom of drought. We certainly anticipate that we'll be going into fire restrictions a little bit earlier than what might be average. And we anticipate that we'll start seeing the potential for a high fire danger sooner than normal, again, as early as April. And we'll be monitoring that on a weekly basis to determine if it's time to start going into fire restrictions locally.
And I mean, when we go into fire restrictions, Eric and I have actually covered it last year, and it looked like, well, we were in fire restriction pretty much all of summer, all of spring, and the beginning of fall. Eric, I know you remember this quite well. We're just like, man, is it still fire season, and are we still restricted from actually, having forest fires? Or not forest fires, but house fires outside. We don't want to have forest fires, but
well, it seems like last year it was lifted, and then it was like, wait a minute, we gotta go back. Can you explain to everybody, when the fire restrictions go into place, what can they do or what can't they do in the national forest?
Well, so we have what we call staged fire restrictions. And so we take a look at the local conditions, and typically the first stage will really limit campfires. And then you may see that we go up in restrictions, and we also limit shooting recreational shooting. It really depends on the conditions, but we stage our fire restrictions just like we stage the fire danger, where we go out, we take monitors, readings of the fuel conditions, and then we base our restrictions on what's appropriate. We also coordinate with all of our partners. So it's important for folks to know that our restrictions only apply to when you're on the Prescott National Forest System. So you want to make sure you're checking with the county for any restrictions that they have, because those will apply to what you can do on your personal private property. But we do coordinate with a number of partners, including the county. We do everything we can to make sure our restrictions are in alignment with one another and try to minimize confusion as much as possible. So you can certainly always check on your county website if you're concerned or just have questions about what you can do on your own property. And then you can also contact the Prescott National Forest if you're going to be going out onto the forest and you just want to make sure you aren't inadvertently violating those restrictions.
Okay, so we have a couple more questions. Right now we have TC Carpet Care. Is there certain trees that are more effective than others? Or is it just specifically the ponderosa pine?
It's not just specifically ponderosa pine. You have different types of insects that can infect different types of trees. So I know we're seeing some concerns up in the Walker potato patch area in more of our fir tree species. But in the Prescott Basin, what we're really looking at when it comes to bark beetle and the Ips beetle in particular, the press release was really focusing on the pine, the ponderosa pine.
And then here's our next question right here. Is there a way to stop the beetles? Anything that we can do to protect our trees or help them stay healthy?
Right. So the best thing you can do to be proactive is to try to thin out the trees on your property. We have been doing that on the Prescott National Forest. And what folks should really understand is that when you look around the pine type here in the Prescott, that a lot of areas that have not been thinned or treated are actually not ecologically appropriate. We have a much higher density of trees in most of our pine forest than we should. And that's due to a long history of fire suppression before we fully understood what it means to take fire out of the ecosystem. So on the Prescott National Forest, we've been conducting thinning operations for forest health. Those also have a side benefit of reducing the risk of catastrophic wildfire. But if you have a lot of trees on your property, chances are your property is actually denser than it should be, and you can really get some assistance. I'm glad you posted the press release up on your site so folks can get the phone numbers for the local agencies that can assist. But that's one thing you can do in advance, is to thin out those trees, make them much more resilient. There's less competition for water. Water is one of the most important factors for protecting your trees against insect and disease.
I'm going to go ahead and put this piece of the press release up on our comments right here. And Jen Ashcraft wants to know, since most fires are human caused, can your agency and or city do more to educate our visitors and travelers?
Yeah, so as we were discussing earlier, as you get into this high fire danger time of year, you really want to be careful and not be complacent about things like if you have chains dragging off the back of your car or trailer. It's amazing how many fires are started along the roadside just because of spark coming off of that chain dragging on the asphalt. And certainly there are things that you can do on your property to make sure that if a fire starts, that you're going to be better prepared to protect your home. And those are things that like making defensible space around your house, cleaning out gutters. I do want to recommend that for those folks that are within the city limits, contacting Prescott Fire Department. They will do a free property assessment to determine how fire-wise your property is. But really just anything you can do to limit the likelihood of inadvertently starting a human-caused fire. So whether it's being thoughtful about where you're using your things like chainsaws or other grinders, things that are maybe putting out sparks. And then, of course, I think it's really important for folks to know that if you have a campfire, if we're not in restrictions and you're allowed to have a campfire on forest, in order to make sure that a fire is not going to inadvertently become a much bigger problem, you really have to douse that fire when you put it out. Just pour tons of water on it. I mean, stir it around, make sure it's wet. There's absolutely no heat coming out. I can't tell you how many, unfortunately, fires across the country are started by what we call an abandoned campfire. And it doesn't just mean somebody lit that fire and walked away. Sometimes it just means they didn't do a good enough job of putting it out.
So, Sarah, go ahead. So I was going to ask real quick. A lot of these fires seem to be, especially in the forest, just randomly started, and we see them, we hear about them. How? Let's say somebody needs to report one, or let's say they accidentally started one. We know time is critical because these things happen. If somebody accidentally starts one and they're worried about getting in trouble, or even somebody sees one and they're reporting it, what is the best thing that anybody could do when it comes to reporting?
Call 911. We are linked with our local 911 folks. If there's a report of smoke, everybody knows that number, right? So if there's a report of smoke, call 911. They will connect you to the Prescott National Forest Dispatch Center. And the best thing you can do is be as specific as possible about where you are. Whenever we get reports, we need the best information we can to go out there and make sure we know where that smoke is, and we'll take a look. We've got lookouts. Our fire lookouts are going to be on board up in those lookout towers by the end of this month, and then of course we have patrols that go out looking for smoke as well. That's a great question. Thank you.
Yes, amazing question. Thank you, Eric. Jen wants to know: are there any grants for mitigation like we did with the Project Andrew?
So there are lots of grants so that's a great question. So what Jen is referring to, and it's nice to see Jen's name in the box there. There is an organization called it's a long name, the Prescott Area Wildland Urban Interface Commission. POWIC is what we call it for short. But if you want to look up yavapifirewise.org, it's all one word. That is the best go-to spot for you and your community to get information about grant funding that can help reduce the hazardous fuels in your community. yavapifirewise.org, check it out. If your community is already considered Firewise, you've already got a mechanism to get that funding. And if your community is not considered a Firewise community, please consider becoming one. It's just an amazing way to get resources and information about how to protect your community.
Yes, and you know what? When you have all of these actual, links to every person to actually help us and educate us about our forest, it's a big deal. And not to mention, we also have an influx of new members to our community, and a lot of them are not too familiar with the forest and how the forest rules are working. So it's good to go ahead and have self-education and education that's out there for all of the new guests that are coming to Prescott. Tourism seems to be some of the people that really don't know about the whole, like, put your fire out. And as TC Carpenter says, Smokey the Bear says, water, stir, water, stir. And these are the things that we actually learned in school. When Smokey the Bear did show up, they were telling you not to smoke in the forest. But some of the things that we actually failed to forget is that the city slickers don't know too much about the forest fire. They just like, oh yeah, we'll go ahead and just let that fire just linger because it's in a nice confined area. But it also doesn't have any extra fuel around it to start it all back up. So
Yeah, and I think, the other thing that a lot of folks don't know too is that fire is a natural part of the ecosystem here. So we'll often see fires started by lightning, and they're not always bad. But typically, if you get a human-caused fire, it's outside of that normal time of year that our ecosystem would expect to see fire. It's especially during the summer season before those monsoons set in, and so the fuels are extra dry, they're extra receptive to a human caused fire.
and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a picture of what that bark beetle infestation looks like. The purple trees right there. I know I got this picture from another forest location, but the brown part of this forest is exactly what ended up happening. How many years ago was that when Prescott actually started seeing a huge problem with the bark beetle? It was like 5 years ago or 2 years ago or something like that? Or has
Well,
it still been going?
yeah, bark beetle's been around for a while. I know there was a very large outbreak. I think it was 2003, if I have the date right. But this year, we had an aerial flight done in early February over the Prescott National Forest, and they're already seeing that the signs of bark beetle infestation are 10 times the amount than we saw in August of last year, so less than a year later. And it really is because of drought. The difference between 2003, again, I think it was, and now is that since that time, we've done quite a bit of forest thinning for forest health. So trees this time around should be more resistant, but you can't prevent it. All we can do is try to make our forests as healthy and resilient as possible.
Yeah, and it's a huge task. I mean, we have so many acres that are just sitting there that need a little bit of assistance. So we appreciate, what the Forest Service is doing, and also our firefighters and everybody that's participating in this, and especially our community. Without our community that is, knowledgeable, we can actually help out a lot. If we invite people to our area, that's the first thing that we like to share with them is what not to do. Do not start a fire if it says don't start a fire.
Yeah, please don't. And then, I think if I may, what I really want to make sure I encourage folks to do is put in a plug for the Ready, Set, Go notification system that's run by Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, because even if we have everybody doing their best to avoid fire, we still do get fires here. And sometimes, no matter how well you've created defensible space around your home, or how many fuels treatments we've done in the forest right around your community, sometimes the only option is going to be to evacuate. And we just want to make sure that everybody's aware, no matter how fire-wise you are and how careful you are, you always need to be prepared to leave your home in the worst case scenario. So again, check out the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office website if you've never heard of the Ready, Set, Go program. Educate yourself on how to be prepared to evacuate if it does come to that.
Wow, what a lot of great information, Sarah. We appreciate it. Thank you, Jen, for setting this up and giving us the heads up. But at the same time, Eric and I have definitely acknowledged that we are 100% trying to make sure that we educate our community and also the guests that come to Prescott, Arizona. It's a big deal because once again, if you don't know, you can potentially hurt a lot of people. And just like Jen has written in the comments that, most of these fires are human caused. And sometimes, how do we stop that? Unfortunately, when people have human error is human error, and we have to accept it. But at the same time, we can definitely try to avoid it 100% if we really, 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 really want to. So I appreciate you coming on, Sarah, and giving us this education for the community. I think that
it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, I appreciate it. And if anybody wants to go ahead and get a hold of the Forest Service, what is the good way to go ahead and get a hold of you guys?
Yeah, I would call our main line, which is 928-443-8000. And any question you have, if they can't answer you when they pick up your call and you have a question for them they can't answer, then they'll direct you to the right folks. I do want to make sure people know that due to COVID, our offices are still closed for to the public without an appointment. So the best way to get information right now is either to call that number, again, 928-443-8000, or look at our website, Google Prescott National Forest, and you'll find it.
All right, let me go ahead and put this on the screen, guys, so you guys know who to call. If you guys have any questions, you guys are more than welcome to call. And if you have any need to go ahead and find out more information, we will be running all of the press releases from the Prescott National Forest, administration. So thank you so very much. Everybody's saying thank you, Sarah. You are very knowledgeable. We'll go ahead and put that on the screen so you can go ahead and get the full love from our community. And I think that this is a very big deal for all of us. So thank you for joining us this morning and taking the time. I know for a fact that this will not be unheard. So we really appreciate you coming on. And thank you. I really do appreciate it. Eric, do you have anything else to say or add to this whole amazing podcast?
I just want to ask real quick, I know the community always wants to be involved. Is there anything they can do to help out besides just being fire aware? Can they volunteer? What can they do to help out?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So the first thing they can do is become educated. So if you still have any additional questions, feel free to contact the Prescott National Forest, because any information you can share with your friends and neighbors is helpful. If you become a Firewise community, that's one of the best things you can do. So again, look at that yavapifirewise.org website, learn about what it means to be Firewise. And even if you can't make that effort at the community level, please do everything you can on your property to make sure your home has defensible space. What that means is that you'll provide a safe space for our firefighters to engage with a fire. So sometimes if you don't create that defensible space and a fire starts near your home, it's simply not safe for firefighters to even go in and try to put that fire out. So we want to make a safe place for our firefighters to engage, give them every opportunity they can to help save your home. And again, make sure you're prepared to evacuate.
Awesome. Thank you.
This is amazing. So thank you, Sarah, for everything that you do. Please keep us informed. We'll go ahead and share it to as many people as possible. I'm going to go ahead and try to get 2 minutes of some sort of Prescott news besides the main news for today. So thank you for joining us this morning. I'm going to let you get back to your busy day. Thank you so very much.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye. Wow, Eric,
great information. Yeah.
That was amazing information, and I really appreciate her coming on. And thank you so very much for actually adding this to our main day. So, this is a huge deal, guys, and this is something that we need to go ahead and make sure that we actually take care of our forest. We take care of our piece of property. Clear out some of the stuff, the debris. This is the reason why we actually do spring cleanup. So
and that's happening right now. The county and all the cities are doing trash pickup, and while it's nice to get your old appliances and things like that out, they do this so that we clear out all of our properties with all the tree brush.
Yes, and it's a big deal, guys. So if you guys have any more questions, we already gave you the information. We'll go ahead and put it up one more time. You can go ahead and give them a call, or you could go ahead and go to yavapifirewise.org. So it's a big deal, guys. And let me go ahead and run down real quick. Weather is going to be nice today. I don't see no snow or rain in the forecast. And the other things are, we are making sure that you guys are up to date with all the information that's coming in on the PrescottTimes.com. So if you guys do not know where to go ahead and find all this crazy information, this is the place to be, the PrescottTimes.com. Go over there, read all the information that's happening, and get a hold of us. If you have anything that you want to go ahead and share with the community, message us at the editor at the PrescottTimes.com, and we'll get it up. Obviously, if it's PG rated, Maybe. Anyways, man. With that being said, I am out of here. It's Thursday. It's almost next to Friday. Go get your sloppy joes, and if you don't like your sloppy joes, let's recreate it and make it into empanada or something like that.
Sounds like a plan.
I think I've had it empanada. I think that's actually an apple thing. I don't know. I need to go and practice my Spanish and stuff like that. Yeah, guys. Anyways, with that being said, peace, love, and happiness. Let it not be war. And remember, love always, always wins.